Now, if we look at things objectively, if Delling hadn't pushed Prospera to basically be on the run, then all this wouldn't have happened. That is true. But we also have to look at present day, and Prospera is without a doubt an evil character who is mentally broken because of everything she lost. I understand that, I see the path of how she got there. That is great character writing. She's a character you love to hate, and yes, feel bad for what happened back in the day. But she is manipulative AF, man. Like, I just can't get over how there's really so few characters really looking out for someone like Suletta, and Suletta, the person she trusts to the absolute most, Mama Prospera, and then it's Mio. And the fact that the person she trusts more than anything, that if she was told to kill, she would do it without hesitation. The fact that the person she trusts the most has her worst intentions in mind. It's all about Eri. Suletta is a pawn, a piece to be moved around, and honestly, I fear for what's going to happen to Suletta, depending on what Prospera uses her for, the amount she'll sacrifice Suletta. Suletta will gladly give her life if Mom says it's for a just reason, and if Suletta ends up making it, then Mio's probably going to end up dying to protect her. It's just, there isn't a good path right now, and I think if anyone needed any more confirmation that Prospera is indeed a psychopath, this episode proves it. I mean, I love the fact that they do highlight that Mio doesn't really blame Suletta for what happened. She's like thankful that yes, you saved my life. The issue comes with you were smiling. You're happy that you turned someone into tomato paste. Like, that's not normal. It's understandable that you would kill to protect, but you shouldn't be happy about it. And the fact that the thing that infuriates her isn't that Suletta did it, but more so that her mother, this manipulative wench, she can't get through to Suletta, and when she tries to get through to Prospera saying I'll protect her no matter what, because she's so manipulative, she brings up the fact of what her father did just after the fact that she started to accept her father more, causing her to mentally break down, and she is just a manipulative woman that will do whatever it takes to get Quiet Zero to the finish line, and it's frightening as hell. Now, I do have a full live reaction to this episode available on my Patreon, so if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch, you can head on over there because they're supporting. This was a great episode. I wasn't expecting too much craziness by the end because it kind of was a slower pace episode. It felt more like an establishing episode. We're seeing Nika, we're seeing Nguyen, we're seeing all these characters who are kind of like, they're getting the momentum going in terms of where their plot's gonna go. I mean, a character like Nguyen, he basically comes back, brother immediately passes out. He's kind of like a different changed man, and depending on where they write his character, he could end up being one of the best characters by the end of the show, as right now he's definitely one of the most fascinating. A character like Nika, who has so much sabotage and betrayal guilt almost all in her, like, a character like that is clearly getting more attention than maybe I initially was thinking she would in the first core here. So all these pieces are really interesting, and I thought they did a good job, especially when Mio comes back into their little club room area. They almost go back to exactly how they were before. Obviously, Suletta's a little awkward about everything, and she feels nervous because Mio hadn't been returning her emails, 3 a day as we get confirmed. But I love the fact that it just felt like everyone was kind of walking on eggshells, and then very quickly, like the first couple of minutes before the opening, Prospera being Prospera, great character motivations, you know, someone saying you shouldn't do this to your daughter, of course, being Prospera, she brings up the fact that the theory was yours, and basically she makes everyone else feel guilty so she doesn't have to look into the mirror. There's a reason she wears a mask. It's so she doesn't have to look into her own eyes and know what type of a monster she's become. But to have moments like, you know, our boy trying to steal the Ariel and getting a very rude awakening, seeing all the little Aries flying around, I mean, the concept of is that just one broken up into multiple? Has there been multiple Aerie clones that have been attempted to, you know, be utilized in the Ariel? There's so much uncertainty, but the fact that he has no goddamn idea what the hell he's looking at, but immediately gets thrown out of that cockpit saying, don't ever come back. Really, there's two people who truly look after Suletta, that being Aerie, the Ariel, as well as Mio. Those are the two biggest people who have Suletta's best interests in mind, and the worst thing ever is the fact that her number one, her mom, can tell her to do anything and she'll buy into it. And that conversation in the greenhouse was pain. They started with both of them separated. Like, there's a few different rows of like the tomato plants separating them. The distance between them is self-explanatory. And when the distance starts closing in, it just gets worse and worse. I love how when talking about Suletta turning someone into tomato paste, they're literally in the greenhouse with the tomatoes around them, right? It's completely on the nose symbolism, but I thought it was really effective because this is a moment that I remember initially, like, people got mad at Mio for being disgusted that Suletta, killed someone, but it wasn't that she just killed someone, it was the fact that she was unfazed by it. It wasn't a normal human reaction. Someone you've grown close to coming out of a cockpit and slipping on blood and goofing off like, whoops, this is a little goofy, huh? Yeah, I think most normal people would be a little freaked out by the person they've been growing such an emotional bond with seemingly looked like a psycho. But after you cool down and calm down, you're thankful, of course, they saved your life. But as you get to know Prospera and everything, you realize the person to blame is the person who raised her to just not second guess. And the fact that if we rewind prior to her smacking people into tomato paste, she was on the floor crying. She didn't want to hurt. She didn't want to do anything. She was begging Prospera to stop. And that goddamn 1-2 phrase comes in, light switch goes off. It's the would you kindly from BioShock. That's exactly what it is. And the fact that Mio, literally, she does everything in her power. And this is what makes it so infuriating because we know Mio in this moment has her best intentions in mind. She's like, listen, would you do whatever? It's basically the thing of like, hey, if all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it? And I love how it's not an immediate yes. She's tiptoeing. She's like, well, I wouldn't want to, but yeah, I'd do it. If I had to leave school, I would do it. If I had to kill, I would do it. And she's awkward about it, and that's what makes it heartbreaking. There's no getting through to her. And honestly, I think the only thing that potentially could snap someone like this out of it is either A, Prospera dying, because eventually she just no longer would have mom's influence. But I think the more likely outcome is watching like something happen where either Prospera tells Suletta to kill Mio or Mio ends up dying to protect her. Like those are the only moments that feel like could get through to a character like this because she is so manipulated to the point that she doesn't understand the person that she reveres as basically this untouchable holy god would toss her away at a moment's notice if it meant helping what she views as helping Eri, right? It's tragic. And I think what makes Prospera probably the best character in the show, period. I think she's infuriating. I think she's beyond broken. I understand how she got there, but it doesn't excuse any actions. But she is the best character. Without her, this show would be a lot more boring. And I think to see a moment where, whether it's the beginning of the episode with a woman who's literally feels more like a mother in this moment than the actual mother, shutting her down saying, nah, you're actually to blame. Or it's basically, well, you know what? I'm going to come into the club room. I'm going to basically get everyone under my thumb. But most importantly, the Mio scene, Mio saying, I'm going to protect your daughter. And she just is like, hey, what about your dad? He's actually pretty evil, huh? She knows how to manipulate everyone to feeling lesser or feeling weaker so that she can manipulate the chessboard in the way she just does. And it's just like, it's infuriating, but damn if that's not an amazing written character. I really feel like if they are going the route I think they are, which is by the end of this core, we're going to end up with a time skip with potentially characters older. Like, Prospera's honestly feels like too good of a character to remove by the end of this core. Like, honestly, like, they could surprise us and end the entire story by the end of this core, which I feel like is unlikely. But honestly, a character like Prospera, she's too good to try to top. Honestly, at this point, I'd love to see a time skip with, like, older characters like Mio and Suletta and, them going up against someone like this. But either way, this was a fantastic episode that definitely surprised me with its slower pacing that just drops bombshells unexpectedly. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Also be sure to ring that bell, of course, so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction available on my Patreon. You can also get video shoutouts and other perks like that if it interests you. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.